What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Round Table. I'm very, very excited for tonight's episode and looking forward to getting into the conversation tonight. But before we do that, my name is Austin. I'm the host of the Round Table and coming to you live. And Mike, as you know, usually my co-host, I just want to say real quick, happy birthday, Mike's mom. She sees this, but he's hanging out with mom as he should be and celebrating her birthday. And I hope you guys have a great night tonight. Have fun and be safe. And then just a couple things that I want to share real quick before we dig in with our guest for the evening. One is our Patreon account. We always have the links listed here below me, and go check that out. That's a great way to support what we're doing, and all of that money goes to equipment or anything that's going to help us continue to push the show forward and to grow not just the show as far as presentation, but our reach as well. So we have that, and then obviously the website we talk about each episode, TART, so tart.live. You go there, and just updated our calendar through I think about mid-June as it stands right now. So all that's on there. Our merchandise is going to be on there. You can find that on there. What I recommend is you go on there and buy 4 of each shirt, and then it doesn't really matter to me what you do with the shirts. You can wear them. You can use them as towels. I don't care. Just go buy 4 of each, and that'd be appreciated. And same thing with the merch is anything that we sell, that money goes into growing the show, and again, expanding our reach and what we're doing, and just making it easier to get our voice out and get our message out. So we greatly appreciate that. And the Discord, we always want to recommend that you go to our Discord. So there's a lot of people that don't want to get on camera. They don't want to talk on camera. That's perfectly fine. Go to the Discord, create an anonymous name, username, and get on there and chat. If you have questions, whether you're an atheist, theist, or you just don't know, go on there, have that conversation. And it's a great way to make friends. There's a lot of friendships even that I've established being on there. There's a lot of good people on there, and it's a civil it's a civil Discord, and we make sure we keep everything professional and mature on there. So go check that out. But I'll save the rest for later. I want to dig into why we're here. So we have a very special guest with us here tonight, and I've been looking forward to this, like I said, the last 3 or 4 weeks since we talked originally and set this up. But our guest tonight is Neil, the 604 Atheist, and he has his own show, Neil the 604 Atheist, here on YouTube, his own podcast. And for the record, we here at the Round Table, we love Neil's the content that he puts out, the guests, the conversations they have. We think it's amazing, and we really respect him and what he's doing. So Neil, first of all, thanks for coming on. We are super humbled and grateful that you're taking time to be with us tonight. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Standard Sunday, hanging around the home all day, watching cartoons, drinking beer. What else could go be better than that? And I'm looking forward to the ribs that I'll be having later on too.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I am a sucker for barbecue.
Oh yeah, me too.
And there's a place here in Fort Wayne. It's funny because every once in a while I like cheat on them and go try somebody else. And I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I waste that money? So no, I'm a sucker for barbecue. Do you like burnt ends?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. A lot of people ask that and they're like, what is that? Like, is it burnt? Is it like
yeah, literally
crunchy and everything? And I'm like, well, it's hard to explain, but if you haven't had it, you're missing life.
Yeah. Nice crispy ends with some pink juicy middle. That's the best way, like a good brisket or something.
Yeah, it's you hit it on the head. Now my mouth's watering. Thanks, Neil.
Right. I know, mine too.
So Nathaniel from Divine Disbelief connected Neil and myself, and recommended that we connected, talk, and the first couple episodes of Neil's material I watched, I was like, man, I love this dude. I want to be I want to be in a relationship with and friendships with and connection with people that just love life, love to have fun, don't take themselves too serious, but still have things that they they want to accomplish and to get done and to help humanity and help our society, help our world.
That's what it's about.
So those are the things that stuck out to me. But Neil, before we get into kind of the format, the round table, I'd like to usually just ask some get to know you questions.
Sure.
So first of all, tell us where are you from?
If I guess not everyone studies what area codes are, but the 604 in my name is in reference to the original area code for Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So I was born here, born to Christians, actually, conceived in the backseat of a 57 Chevy, which I think is pretty fucking cool.
That's awesome.
And 57 Chevy Bel Air hardtop. And the funny thing about that is my adopted father, or the father I knew my whole life, because I was literally brought home 10 days after. And by the way, guys, born to Christians, raised Jewish. So I guess that was part of God's plan to not actually believe in Christ. Who knows? But anyway, and he was saving his 57 Chevy Bel Air hardtop for his first son, which would have been me. But unfortunately, when they moved from Florida to Montreal, his mom made him sell it. So when he told me that, I was like, why did you tell me this? Because that's like one of my all-time favorite cars, right? So
yeah, no, that's heartbreaking. Anytime you you think
I still cry to this day.
Yeah, I was going to say, that I don't know if it's a guy thing where you have that car that you always wanted, and if you think you're going to get it and it's like ripped out of your hands, it's
I didn't even know about it.
Okay.
so he had to fill me in just to, give me that extra little bit of disappointment. Like, thanks, Pop. That was great.
Yeah.
My three favorite cars are the number 1, AC Cobra.
Okay.
Number 2, 57 Chevy Bel Air hardtop 2-door, of course, and the Nomad of the same year, Chevy Nomad.
Okay. And so I'm more of like I'm a Cadillac guy. Like,
I like Caddies.
Yeah, even the old Caddies, like I love them. And this has been years ago now, but my grandpa that he passed about 2 years ago. But they had this like tricked out Cadillac CTS, which a lot of people are not a big fan, but I love those cars. And they're
gorgeous.
The luxury was tricked out, had all the buttons and whistles, and
got good lines on it too.
Yeah. Oh, it's sexy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And,
exactly.
And I was going to buy it from them, right there, because they were going to go down to one car because they're starting to get older. And they only needed one car. And I was like, well, I'll buy it. Don't take it to the lot. I'll buy it. So they're getting ready to sell it to me like on the low, because it's my grandparents. Yep. And literally a week before I was going to buy it, my grandpa totaled it.
Oh, no.
I was like, Grandpa, why didn't you drive the Buick?
Oh, no. You see, now something like that, my pillow would have been wet for a week from crying in it so much.
Yeah, I told my grandma, I was like, I'm glad Grandpa's safe, but God damn it. But yeah, so I know with that I can relate on kind of the you have that car dreams, you want it, and you knew you could have had it, but now you don't have it. It's gut wrenching. So and then but the last thing,
Sonny. Sorry,
no, you're good. The last thing before we get into the format, I wanted to ask you. So when we were talking, it was yesterday or today on Twitter. You mentioned you're getting ready to go jam with your boys.
Yeah, for the first time in like 2 months.
Yeah, so that's I think that's awesome. What instrument do you play?
My mouth. I'm the singer.
Oh, you're the singer. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can play some guitar really badly, a little bit of bass really badly, a little bit of drums really badly. But yeah, I'm not. The only instrument I ever learned really well was the trumpet. But there's no real use for it in what we do. So,
okay. And what kind of band do you play?
You know what? We try to reflect a lot of the bands that we grew up with, like the styles, like a Zeppelin, Sabbath, where it's not just one kind of sound, where they have a bunch of different kinds of sounds, because we don't want to get nailed as some sort of like the next Nickelback, where everything song sounds the same kind of, or something along those lines. So we try to make our sounds varied from like a heavier blues sound to even some that could be like Southern Fried sound to but most of it has got edge to it, we'll put it that way. So it's kind of a harder rock kind of sound that we do have.
Okay, all right. No, yeah. I'm the type I can really listen to just about anything but country music. I can't do country music.
But I could do the old school country, like of course the Man in Black himself. Oh well,
that yes. And see, I consider that folk.
Johnny Cash. Well, Yeah.
more than country. But maybe that's me justifying it in my head because I don't want to say I was
Because I don't listen to country. Yeah, like Willie Nelson too, right? Some of the old Boxcar Willie shit and stuff like that, right? So
yeah, it's a no. So I'm a drummer. I started playing when I was about 6.
Wow.
And I love hammering the skins. So when I get pissed off, I just go bang on the drums.
You go through a lot of skins that way, or what?
I used to, and then I learned, it's like, you know what? I don't have to play this hard.
Right.
Like,
There's a way to do it. Yeah, you don't have to hammer them. There's a way to make it loud and not have to put your entire forearm into it. You know.
Yeah, I was definitely an angry drummer. That's for sure. But no, that's awesome. So and I'd love to come back and even talk about some more of that at the end. But
sure,
we'll start digging into the normal roundtable format, and I think this is going to be a great time for us, and it'll be a great conversation. You know, if anybody ever has questions for you about your experience here, you'll know exactly how we handle it, and you'll know it firsthand, and then we can talk a lot more about you and our experience. Continue to the new fun word that we've been using with even Chris from the Daily Atheist Show is cross-pollinating.
Cross-pollinating
sounds dirty.
I think I was watching that episode where you guys were talking about that.
We've been having fun with that ever since. But
cross-pollinating. Don't mix the streams, or don't cross the streams.
So yes. So for those that have never tuned into the roundtable before, really what we have is it's very simple. It's a 3-question format. What, how, why. So what's your story? And, at the end of that, we ask that you just say, my current stance on religion is, either I'm an atheist or Christian or Baptist or Muslim or, whatever it is, you share that. And then I might have a question or two. And then we go on to how did you arrive to that destination? And then maybe a question or two there. And ultimately the why is usually the most important part. Why do you believe what you believe? Or in our case, Neil, why do we not believe?
Exactly.
I
could tell you why I don't.
Yep, and we'll get there, and I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm excited to get that part of it. So that being said, Neil, on the what, what's your story? Really, what I ask people is, maybe some things as you were growing up, as a young man and teenage years, and you're growing up, maybe some things that impacted you, not just from a religious standpoint, but even just as a human, as a man, that maybe directly or indirectly did affect the way you made that decision, right, to where you're at today. So if you would take as long as you need, give us Neil's story. What's the story?
What's the story? Like, you mean, all right. Like I was saying in the beginning, I was born to Christians, raised as a Jew. So I didn't actually find out that I was adopted till I was about 6 years old, when my mom pulled both my sister and myself aside and said, you guys are adopted, because my mom couldn't have kids. And I understood what that meant, because I'd already sort of heard a little bit about what that stuff is, right, at that age. I think it was 6 or 7 when they told me. But so I was raised as a Jew. So we went to synagogue on Friday nights, the usual stuff, which is pretty boring shit. I remember hating it as a kid and not wanting to be there. Until I discovered coffee at a young age. And then I'd hide around the corner and drink coffee, and my mom would wonder why I was so wired every time I got home. And I grew up doing that and going to what we call Hebrew school, where they teach you all the biblical stories as history, right? And some of them are from ancient Israeli stories and stuff like that. But some of them was like the Samson story and the David and Goliath story and stuff like that. And I was like, this... To me, it always, even as a kid, though I kind of I had a belief that there was some sort of being up there, maybe controlling shit or whatever is the way I put it then. Basically, everything just sounded like mythology to me, and I still consider it to be mythology to this day. Just, the Abrahamic mythologies as opposed to the Roman mythologies or Greek mythologies, that kind of thing. All the stories sound the same. They're all these flashy stories of these gods and giants and all kinds of stuff. So it just sounded like bullshit to me. But I'd always question in Hebrew school about these things. Like, how can this possibly be? This doesn't make any sense. And of course, I spent a lot of time in the hallway on timeouts because of it. And eventually the time came where I had to have my bar mitzvah. And, I read a Torah portion. We call it a Haftorah that we have to read out for the Friday night services. So And of course, I'm 13 years old at this point, and voice is cracking. And every time I hit some of those high notes, stuff would go squirrely, and everyone in the audience would be laughing and stuff. So at least, it was kind of comedic at that point. But my story kind of involves stuff about, slavery and stuff. So, and I just thought it was kind of abhorrent. Even as a 13-year-old kid, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But moving after that, probably after going and living in Israel for a couple of years, I lived over there. I went to grade 11 and grade 12 and graduated over there. I did a little bit of military service as well, and found out that a lot of the Jews over there really aren't that religious. And I would talk to a lot of them about it, and we still do the holidays. We still, what do they call them? Like secular Jews, basically, is what a lot of them were. Not all of them. Some of them were actually fairly religious. But it was a great couple of years that I spent over there. And by the time I came back, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this shit. I don't believe in all that stuff. So I kind of turned my attention to Wicca and polytheism, especially the Norse gods, kind of were one of my favorite, or Celtic deities and stuff like that I kind of got into. I actually still wear this ring as a memory for my time dealing with that sort of thing. And it's how I became kind of friends with Ocean Keltoy. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he's a polytheist, and him and I became quite good friends because, I have kind of a soft spot in my heart because I used to be one. So him and I are kind of on a united front when going up against theists like Christians and evangelicals and stuff. So, and then probably somewhere in my late 30s, mid to late 30s, I just kind of gave it all up. I just said, none of this shit's real. I tried doing spells. It never worked. None of this shit's real. I even was into the numerology, astrology, all the ologies. And I just figured it out over time that this is all bullshit. So yeah, and that's when I called myself an atheist for the first time. Just before I turned 40, I think is when I first used that word as a descriptor for who I was.
Okay. No, that's very, very interesting. And definitely things even from, and I've watched a good amount of your content, and I learned a couple things even there that are interesting. So I hadn't heard yet about you being in Israel. So that's very interesting. So was there anything, that part of your life journey, was there anything there that really maybe started to catapult you towards atheism? Was there anything over there?
Yeah, well, like I was saying, I think just the realization that many of the Israelis who are Jewish were really secular. They didn't really buy into the whole deity thing. So that kind of sort of, because we'd sit there and we'd get some really good Lebanese hash and we'd smoke it and start talking about this sort of stuff, theology and whatnot and philosophy, and finding out that many of them, I'd say at least a good half of the country is not religious. They're secular Jews, traditionalists, or they celebrate the holidays. Like I still do. I go to my family, for Passover or Hanukkah or whatever, because I'll tell you, the food is fucking awesome. So I'm going for the food really. So once I found that out, it just that was like the clincher, because I was already having doubts anyways. My whole life I was sort of like, is this real? This can't be real. That sort of thoughts in my head anyways. So going over there just kind of solidified it. Okay. So I thought, okay, I'm not this Jewish kid anymore. I'm going into something else. I'll find a different spiritual path. And that's how I ended up getting into the occult and polytheism and Wicca and all that shit. Until that didn't pan out either.
Well, I thought it was interesting. You kind of touched on mythology in there. So do you still is your view or your stance today that you still believe that the Bible, God claims, Jesus, all that's mythical creation? Okay.
Yeah, okay. I do. Absolutely. Okay. I mean, there's elements in those scriptures, the Old and New Testament, that are ripped right from earlier scriptures, like earlier stories as well. The best example, I think, is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which ended up becoming the flood story for Noah, right? So,
Yep, I'm familiar. And it's funny because personally, I've been involved. I've lost track how many shows that we've done this weekend. We jam packed it because I'm getting ready to go on vacation for a week, so we're getting as many in as we could, before I go. And it's funny because it's funny because we we've heard more of the stance of the mythological argument really this weekend that I have in a very long time. And it was just crazy how it's all just kind of bam, bam, bam. And Chris had a guest the other day on the Daily Show. Like this guy was spitting knowledge like a machine gun. His name was Jason. Oh, you were watching it.
Yeah.
That guy was a machine gun. He was a mythological machine gun. Like half the time I'm like, dude, how do you store all that in your brain? But no, it's interesting that you said that, and again, when we get to the end, maybe we can touch on that again, because I've now, my stance is now I have to reassess my position, which any atheist that says they're an atheist, that you always have to have that approach where it's like, well, if I'm wrong, I need to dig back in. I need to do some more research, and as of, what was it, Friday or whatever, that I did that show with Chris, my position was, well, I'll concede that Jesus was a human being. He just wasn't divine. He wasn't, he didn't have supernatural powers,
I'm willing to give them that, or
and
whatever.
And if I was doing a debate, I probably still would. But now I truly, for integrity purposes, after listening to Jason, then another conversation I had, and now talking to you, it's like, okay, I need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that I've done the research that I need to do.
A very good book to check out. I have it on Audible. I haven't picked up the hard copy yet. It was actually written by my guest last night on my show, Dr. Hector Garcia. It's called The Alpha God, and it goes back to our primatology beginnings and how primates interact and evolved into humans, and we still have that primate notion of dominance and authority and submission of your lowers, and they adopted that in the early tribal days of Israel and the Middle East area and created gods based on that, where they were controlling. Like, you think about it, like, what kind of an omnipotent being gives a shit about what you do in the bedroom? Really? Seriously?
Exactly.
Like, exactly. You think if he can see everything, he's probably going, oh, there they go, Jesus. Here we go. Sorry, son. Using your name in vain. It's just ridiculous to me.
Oh, I 100% agree. Our boy Urias was on the other day, and towards the end of the show, I talked about, I was like, this God is the creator of the universe and the stars and human beings and animals and all that, and he's literally worried about who we do and don't have sex with and how we do it. Yeah. Like, and he's obsessed. Like, doesn't even make sense to me. But
nope,
I digress.
Nope, doesn't make sense at all.
So no, Neil, that was awesome. And we'll move on to the how, and you kind of already touched on it. Maybe we can really put a bullet in it. So we have a defining moment. But what was that defining moment? How did you arrive to atheism? What was it? What was the nail in the coffin? What did it?
Well, I think it was just when I came out of the whole polytheistic thing, the supernatural stuff, the paranormal stuff. I wanted to be a ghost hunter at one time, and even tried using little cassette tapes to get the EVPs, or electronic voice phenomenon, if you don't know what that means. And I never got anything. And you always see the TV shows and like ghost hunters and stuff. And listen to that. It's a fucking bullshit, people. It's all Hollywood. Anyway, and after just realizing all of that, I just remember sitting around with a couple of friends of mine at my place back when I lived in Ladner before I moved out to a different place here in New Westminster. And we're sitting around having a couple of beers and a couple of doobies. And it's like, well, what do I believe now? I have nothing spiritual left. I mean, other than maybe meditation once in a while. Even if I don't even know if everyone considers that to be a spiritual thing. But and I just said, and I guess I don't really believe in any of this shit anymore. So I guess that makes me an atheist. And my friend Chris is like, well, are you sure you're just not agnostic? Because how can you really know? And I'm like, dude, it's not really about really knowing, because if there was any deities at all, we would know. All right. We would know. And since none of them are poking their little heads into our lives, apparently, I'm going to call myself an atheist, and I'm a hardcore atheist. I don't believe in any of that bullshit anymore. So,
Yeah, and I love that you said that I'm a hardcore atheist.
Oh yeah,
because I love using those terms just to ruffle feathers sometimes. Because
and it does.
Oh, absolutely. Because I grew up. I grew up in a very radical evangelical family and church, and they always, if they can call themselves radical, and world changers, and
Yeah.
all of these things, if they can do that, you know what?
So can we.
I can be a hardcore atheist, and I can even be a militant atheist. If that's what gets your attention,
Yeah.
and if that's what starts a conversation. But it's and I love hearing people's hows and whys, because each story you listen to is different. And
you don't have to tell me.
Yep, and that, and that's Neil. Kind of side point here, real quick. One of the reasons that I fell in love with your channel is I have my own. Which I won't dig into now because you and I will
save it for the show, man.
Yeah, I'll save it. I'll save it for then. But
coming up soon.
I'm listening to it, and it's like, my God, they're all like, there's so many similarities, but they're all different at the same time.
Of
course.
What I
mean? There's so many different dynamics to it. So that's why I'm excited to be on your show. But that's why I love listening to your content, is because, man, if a non-believer were to listen into that, or I'm sorry, if a believer was to listen to those things and then apply just pure logic and reason to what they're currently believing, it would blow their mind.
Yeah.
If they took those stories and really thought through them in their own life experience.
Mm-hmm. I have to make a correction to what you just posted up there. It's not 4 p.m. Eastern time. It's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Oh, then that's my bad. I told them the wrong time then. Sorry, producers. That's on me.
It'll be 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so it'll be 7 p.m. for you.
Okay, so we will correct that. And that's totally on me. I gave him the time, so that's my bad.
Oh, we're gonna have fun, dude. Don't even worry about it. It's gonna be awesome. We forgive you. Thank you.
I love my producers. They're the ones that make me look good. So I don't say nothing.
Yeah.
But no, that's great, Neil. And I love, like I said, I love hearing each person's the how, and kind of that transitional, whether it was a moment or it was a buildup, because for a lot of people it could be a 2-year process, on getting there. So
sure.
I won't take a lot more time there, because I know just in the pre-show, and then as we were building up in our conversation, you and I both are excited to get to the why, right? So typically, again, for those that have never tuned in before, you watch this later, you never watched before, if it's a theist, we ask them, okay, why do you believe what you believe? What's your best case? But Neil, for someone like you or myself, or a fellow atheist community, we ask you, Neil, why do you not believe?
Why do I not believe, or why do I believe what I believe?
Yeah,
it's quite simple, actually, for me. If there's a God out there, and he's as described as being all loving, which I find really hard to believe, alongside omnipotence, because the two of them just don't seem to mesh. I have yet to see any evidence of a deity. When you think about, if this particular, we'll call him Yahweh, for which is actually an amalgamation of two different gods, but that's another topic for another time. This God is supposed to be all powerful, all knowing, all seeing, right? And you figured, I think the one that really clinched it for me was finding out with all the Catholic Church, the priests and whatnot, that are molesting kids and nuns and stuff like that. And this deity, this apparently all-knowing, all-seeing deity, is sitting on the sidelines as all of this shit goes down, as thousands of children are going to be permanently scarred. His children, allegedly, are going to be permanently scarred, and he sits by and he's either whispering in the ears of the priest going, I'll get you later for this. Like, if I saw something like that going on, this is something that Tracy Harris, I believe, said one time on the Atheist Experience as well, some time back. I would stop. I would interject. I would stop, even at the risk of my own life. I would get in there and I would stop what was going on. Your God isn't doing that. So that automatically makes me more moral than your deity.
Yep.
And if this God is real and he's all powerful, then why didn't he design a book with the most important words for humankind ever, that anyone who picked it up, no matter what language they read or spoke, they'd be able to read it? Didn't matter. They'd open the book and the pages with the words would suddenly appear in whatever language they were. Because he's clearly magic. He spoke everything into existence, didn't he? Right. So he should be able to do that, no problem. And it shouldn't have just happened in the Middle East. It should have happened globally. But you've got the Native Americans that were like, Jesus who? You've got, people in like China and Japan and India. They're all like, who? What? They'd never heard of any of this until the colonizers, I guess, the British people or the Romans had started going all over the place and spreading that word. He's not very fucking efficient. That's all I can tell you. And he's an ignorant dick because he can't figure out that these kids are being raped by priests. People that allegedly speak for him or it or whatever it is. He's imaginary. It's the only explanation.
Yeah,
he's about as real as fucking Zeus. Okay, so
I call him the imaginary buddy. That's a safety blanket.
Yeah, I love those memes where you get the parents going, "Please, Lord, stop my child from talking to his imaginary friends." It's like, really?
What happened was, no, that's that's good. So a question then, and then I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of maybe some reverse epistemology and have some fun there. So first thing I would ask you then and I'll put my old
the old religious cap on,
my old cap back on. Neil, what would you say is what's your standard of evidence?
My standard of evidence is the lack of evidence for the deity. Okay. Right? I'm open. I'm open-minded. If you can give me something that clearly demonstrates that there's a deity out there, and not just an argument, because in my opinion, arguments aren't evidence. They're just arguments. I mean, some of them are good arguments too, but so what? I still don't see him. I've never been interacted. I even searched as a kid, going, reaching out to him. Never got nothing. So, until something happens that's going to change my mind, I'm going to continue to think that it's just mythology, like the hundreds of thousands of deities proposed before him.
Okay, and Neil, what would you say to those that claim that they have had an experience with and we'll just talk because most of the people that we have on our channel are Bible believing Christian, or Baptist or whatever, so we'll keep it at that. What would you say to those that say, well, Neil, I've had a personal experience with God and he's changed my life. He's changed my life and in so many awesome ways. There's no way you can tell me that this God isn't real.
Well, I can tell you that. Whether or not you believe it is another matter altogether. I'm sure you've had great experiences. And you know what the great thing is? Now we can reproduce that experience in a laboratory setting, if you like. We can put little things on your head and we can stimulate the part of your brain that gets stimulated when you have those experiences. And we can put you in a room and you're going to be like, oh, Lord is talking to me again. But no, it's actually just science talking to you. All right. How many times have I gone to a concert and had a religious experience at a concert? I can't tell you. I can't count on both my hands how many times that's happened. I've seen some of my favorite bands and felt the exact same way. Right. So how do you know that that's an experience with an actual deity or just your brain being triggered because of what you're seeing and hearing? You don't. Right. Well, you do, actually. Yeah. And I can reproduce that in a lab for you if you like.
No, I love that you just said that. Like some of my favorite studies are what religion and religious activities or experiences do to the brain. Mm-hmm. And I'm a psychology guy, so like that kind of stuff I can dig into for hours.
You're going to love Alpha God if you read that one.
well, then I'm gonna dig into it because I literally those are my favorite things to research and study, and I've shared it on a couple of our episodes. But even in my bookmark tab on the top of my MacBook, like 3 or 4 of them are studies on either the religious experience of what it does to the chemical makeup, or the influence of religion, on the brain and happiness and joy, and all that. Seeing Pearl Jam was a religious experience.
Yeah. My friend Irish Sweet. Try not to make him laugh though, because he just had heart surgery, and we were killing him last night on my show. We're making him laugh, and he's all doubled over. Going, I'm gonna die. So want the poor guy to keel after surviving heart surgery, for crying out loud.
Absolutely. Now I feel like I shouldn't smile the rest of the night.
I do have a Pearl Jam story actually that I've told once or twice on my show.
Okay.
I had tickets to see Alice in Chains and a little band called Mother Love Bone. They're also out of Seattle, and it was a place called the Town Pump before they shut her down 2 years later. And it was about 3 months after I purchased the tickets, I found out that the singer for Mother Love Bone, his name was Andrew Wood, passed away. So I'm like, well, shit, who are they going to have on there now? So we get to the door. I'm talking to the doorman. I'm like, so who's the band that's replacing Mother Love Bone? Because the singer died. It's some band called Mookie Blaylock. Isn't that a basketball player? It's like, what? So I get in there, and we see the opening band, and I'm like, oh, actually, these guys are pretty good. And I recognize 2 of them from being in Mother Love Bone, Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, so this is just them with some new players, right? So I'm sitting on, and I really didn't get a good look at the guys, and I'm sitting on the stairs after they finish, and Alice in Chains comes up, because they're still one of my top 5 all-time favorite bands. And I'm watching, and this guy sits beside me. And I go, hey, dude, what's going on? I go, you don't have a beer in your hand. Let me remedy that. And he goes, I'm not familiar with the beers here. I'm like, well, I'll grab you a good one. So I think it was Okanagan Pale Ale or something. And I brought him up a beer. And he goes, what'd you think of our act? I'm like, you're the singer. He goes, oh yeah, my name's Ed. I'm like, oh, how you doing? I'm Neil. And I'm sitting, I had a beer with Eddie Vedder before they were really well known.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And we were making fun of Alice in Chains and stuff. So I got to talk to all the guys from Alice in Chains and Eddie and stuff. It was pretty cool. And so that's the story I like to tell. He just sat there on the stairs with me, beside me, drinking beer together and watching the bands. It was really neat. And he was so mellow and like so humble. And I don't know if he's the same way, because it's literally been well over 25 years since that happened. It was in 90 or 91, I think, when we saw them. I've seen them multiple times since then, and Pearl Jam puts out some great tunes. But yeah, they were really good. And the Mookie Blaylock, there was a temporary name until they called themselves Pearl Jam. However, their album 10 is a tip of the hat to the name Mookie Blaylock, because Mookie Blaylock's jersey number was 10.
It was 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saying that, I completely forgot about that till you started going down that story, because that, as far as where I kind of really cut my teeth as far as being a drummer, was listening to Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, all.
Yeah. Soundgarden, Screaming Trees.
Yeah, and still to this day, my tendencies as a drummer are very Dave Grohl-ish.
Oh, he's great though.
Yeah.
See, my drummer's Mr. He's very heavily jazz influenced. He's heavily blues influenced, and one of his favorite drummers was what's his name from Smashing Pumpkins, Jimmy Chamberlain.
Okay. Yep.
He's a big Jimmy Chamberlain fan, and you can tell by the way he plays. Mind you give that kid any instrument and he'll play it, even if he's never played it before. Even a violin. Like, he picked up a violin, and I'm like, oh, dude, have you ever played? He's like, nope. He just starts playing. Like, there are millions of angry kids all over the globe going through violin lessons right now at you.
Oh, those guys make me so angry, because I had to work so hard to become a good drummer. I don't even classify myself as great. I had to work so hard to be a good drummer. And
dude, Plankston 6? Seriously? You're probably awesome. So don't sell yourself short.
Then I appreciate that. But something like Travis Barker is one of my other favorite drummers.
Yes, he's amazing.
He's nasty, right?
Yeah.
And I listen to him, I'm like, yeah, maybe one day, but it is funny whether you're a vocalist, a guitar player, bass, drummer. It's funny because you can always kind of pull out, if you're familiar with a lot of music, you can kind of pull out where people get their influences from. As far
sure
as
you
style
can.
of playing. And I've had people are like, man, I could tell you before they even talk to me, like, I can tell you listen to Nirvana because Dave was kind of like Ringo Starr, whereas like he was there, but you didn't realize he was there because they played.
I high-fived him.
But they're the kind of drummers that they do their job and they don't overplay. There's a lot of drummers that overplay,
Yeah, but ours can do that sometimes, and it annoys the shit out of our bass player.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, we'll get back to the music in a minute. One or two more questions on the why, and then I want to talk about you and your channel, Neil, and get into that. But one thing I like to ask atheists that come on that have believed in whatever they believed in before and had some type of a deconversion process themselves. Sure. If you were to sit down with somebody that's kind of on the brink, so to speak, they're
on the fence,
they're starting to question and they're starting to doubt. What advice would you give them?
That's a good question. One of the things I think after actually reading the different scriptures that kind of helped me out of it, just seeing the brutality and stuff like that that's posed in these books, I would suggest maybe actually read, because I find a lot of believers have never really actually read the Holy Scriptures of any kind. So I always suggest doing that, and especially the parts that they don't often tell you about in your services, like church services, synagogue services, whatever. And after doing that, come back and tell me whether or not you still believe or want to believe in this asshole. Pretty much what I tell them.
No, very, very good. And let's further that, and let's say this individual, they prescribe to that advice. They say, okay, you know what, Neil, I'm going to do that because I want to know truth. I want to know more true things than not,
right.
And I'm going to do that. And they come back and they say, you know what, Neil, I totally see what you're saying. There's a lot of things that whether it's usually it's in the Old Testament, but there's a lot of things in the Old Testament that now conflict with how I feel about humanity and how humans should be treated. Even how animals should be treated, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
And I'm in conflict with that. But I'm really, really terrified of going to hell, Neil. I'm really, really terrified. And what if you're wrong? Like, what if I say I'm an atheist now and I'm wrong and I end up in hell?
Pascal's wager. So it's better to believe and be wrong than not believe and be wrong, I guess. Well, I would say, Al, have you ever seen any evidence that someplace like hell or even heaven actually exists? All you hear are stories from these scriptures about it. And I'll be honest with you, none of that was ever part of the scriptures in the Old Testament. There was no heaven or hell mentioned. There was just the kingdom afterwards where you could either be with God or disappear for good. Like, I guess annihilation or whatever was the punishment before they came up with hell. And if you go back to the Council of Nicaea, where they decided which books were going to be canon, which books were not going to be canon. And I can't remember if it was Nicaea or something a little bit before that, but they decided that the revelations of John were not canon until that time. And they decided to add it, and we can all see why, because it's an easy tool to use to manipulate people with fear. Oh, hey, Math Pig. I wouldn't worry about it. Like, if you think that there's some kind of an afterlife, have we had one before? Like, do you remember before you were born? Right? Probably not. You're probably going to go right back to that exact same spot. That same place where you were before you were born. So you won't know. You'll never know. Once you're gone, you won't know. So don't worry about burning in any hell or or any religion's hells for that matter, because there are multiple hells according to these different religions. So, and they can't all be right? So the likelihood is they're all wrong.
Yep.
So I wouldn't worry about burning in hell. Just enjoy your life, man. Do what you can to help humanity. Be the best version of yourself that you can be. Don't worry about what's going to happen, right? That's all you got to do. That's what I do. And I'm enjoying the shit out of this because we, in Canada, we got good beer. So
yeah, no, you just nailed it. And I actually, what you just said is like my life motto, like no bullshit. It's my life motto. Yeah. Be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. Like that.
Well, yeah. Oh, no, I agree. But the one thing I kept from Wicca is it's kind of a similar version. Because they are very much they have a golden rule as well, but it's a little bit different than what you're used to. It says, and you harm none, do as you will. And that's my version of the golden rule. It's just as long as you harm none, and that includes yourself. You try not to hurt you. Of course, we all do a little self-sacrifice once in a while for betterment of others. I know this. I've tried multiple times, and they wouldn't let me. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
No, that's I think I might adopt that. As long as you don't harm anybody, do what you will.
And you harm none, do as you will.
No, I like that because that's even how I try to raise my kids. Like, be skeptical, ask questions, and as long as you're not hurting a human being or an animal or whatever, a living thing, do what the fuck you want to do. Like, do what makes you happy. As long as you're not hurting anybody, including yourself. No, that's awesome. And if I can just add one or two things onto what Neil said, because all that was, bullseye, dead on. From, if you're talking to somebody that's been deeply indoctrinated, sometimes that adds another twist to that deconversion process. Because there's layer after layer after layer of that onion, so to speak.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The first thing I do is I remind them that, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but my favorite thing is to go to, this God is supposed to be this God of love, and that's who he is. It's not a personality trait, but it's who he is. And then go through Corinthians 12, where it talks about this is what love is, right? And it goes through all that. Yep. So you're telling me all this is accurate, but yet he's still going to send me to hell because I'm an atheist, right? That's what you're telling me.
For simple non-belief.
Yeah. So I have, according to him, I've committed a mental or a thought crime. So now for eternity, I get to be tormented and abused and burned and all those things. That's first and foremost. Second of all, we have all of these Christian salespeople that have written all these books about their experiences going to hell. Right? I'm
sure they have.
Well, I've read them because that was part of me walking myself through my.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
And guess what, Neil?
They're all different.
You're not gonna believe this. They're all fucking different.
Of course they are.
Hell never looks the same.
Of course not.
No matter which one you read. And
they probably borrow from Dante's Inferno, because those are images that we conjure up, right? Which is a lot of where this whole new hell idea of burning in flames and lake of fire all came from. So
yeah, it's funny because there'll be a new one come out every once in a while. So I was like, well, Austin, you were a Christian. You should read this. I think it'll change your mind. And I'm like, okay, what is it? I'll read it. And I'll be honest. The last one that was recommended to me, I was like, okay, what is it? I'll download it right now and I'll start reading it. And I remember the name of it is right now. And I downloaded it. I got maybe 10 to 15 pages in, and I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, I'm not I'm not buying any of this right now. And whoever wrote this is a terrible writer.
Get an editor, buddy.
and I literally deleted it. I'm like, I'm not even gonna let you take up memory on my phone, bro. Like, this is terrible. So even that, I because to me, I'm a very brass tacks, logical, common sense thinker, and outside of the interwebs, I'm a businessman, and I just deal in brass tacks. Like,
I'm a shitty chemist.
It's black and white. Either we're making money or we're not, and that's what helped me through my deconversion process. Okay, either there's a God or there's not. There is no, there's no
other option. Right.
Yeah, when it came down to me taking
Leaning to not.
Yeah, way leaning, like, whoa.
Seems blatantly obvious to me.
But yeah, that's what to tie that up. Those are the couple things just from a practical standpoint. What was it? It's it's not in the Bible, but my grandparents used to say all the time. Some people are so heavenly minded they're of no earthly good. Right?
What does that even mean?
That means they're so drunk on their Jesus juice. That they can't have a normal conversation with people like you and I. There is no, we can't have a rational conversation. We can't have a normal conversation, because even if I say that, my son has an ingrown toenail, well, that toe must have a devil. I mean, it's like, really? No, the toe doesn't have,
clearly.
the toe doesn't have a fucking devil. He just got an ingrown toenail.
Now there's toe devils. When did that start?
But that's how how radical that shit gets. Like, you do make one decision one way, or you get some type of illness, like you must not be praying hard, or maybe, Neil, maybe you didn't give enough money in tithe last week.
Oh, I didn't give any, so probably
that could be it. But no. So we'll wrap up the roundtable process there. The format we do, and before we go into to talking about Neil and what he's doing and his show and everything. Again, Neil, I just want to say thank you for being on and coming on.
My pleasure, man. It's a lot of fun
taking your time. And good. I'm glad you enjoyed. I've enjoyed our conversation so far, and I think now
looking forward to it.
We're gonna have even more fun. So
it's all about fun.
Absolutely, that's what life's all about. Fucking have fun. But this is what we want to do. Is we want to focus on Neil and what he's doing with his page right now. And anytime another content creator, YouTube creator that's working in the same realm we are, and trying to as atheists reach out and help change lives and impact people's lives and get other voices out. We want to promote that. We want to get that out there. We want to get we get Neil's voice out there and his guests out there, and we want to promote the shit out of it as much as we can. So, Neil, please take as much time as you need. Like I said, I abbreviated the normal process so that we had time to do this and just hang out and talk. Please tell us about your, well, first and foremost, tell us about your channel, kind of how it started, what's your goal, what's it all about?
When I started the channel, I think the only goal really I had was to get these stories out there, because I think they're important and they need to be heard. Because now that I've been doing this for a little over a couple of years, I've noticed that there's so many people that are on the fence about whether or not gods are real, the religion is true, that kind of thing. So many people out there. And the more of these stories that I can get people to come on and tell, I feel it will help these folks. Because I've gotten emails now from people that say, man, I've watched your channel now for a couple of months, and so many of these stories ring true for me. So many of these stories I can identify with, but yet I haven't. Oh, my Aaron Rye interview. Him and I had a lot in common, and that's probably why we got along so well and hung out. But anyway, it's important, because people that are having doubts, they need to know that we're here as a community, that we're here for them, to help them find their way through. Oh, look at my double chin. That's crazy. And that's why I just started to do it. I think one of the people that inspired me to start that channel, or start my channel to do what I do, was actually Seth Andrews, because back in his early start, he talked to people a lot about their journeys away from their beliefs. And I listened to a bunch of his podcasts back in the day, and I thought, you know what? I could do that. Seth's a good guy, and he's really good at this. I could follow his model, and I could talk to people about why they decided to get out and what led them there. And every journey has been fairly interesting to me. Some of them are heartbreaking. Some of them are very exciting, and they have happy endings. But another one of the reason I want people to know that we're out there for them, to have them tell their stories and to hear these stories, so that they can stop believing in the insanity and come and join our community, is that any deity that tells you to disown your family or to be disowned by your family because you don't believe anymore is no deity worth worship. To break up the family unit, it's got to be one of the, I mean, and I understand that there are family units out there that are pretty fucked up to begin with, but that's a different thing altogether. But every functioning type family or dysfunctioning type family, because I think all of our families have some form of dysfunction. But for a deity to tell your families to disown each other if they don't believe is ludicrous to me. And then, as you were saying earlier, infinite punishment for finite crimes is not justice.
Correct. Absolutely. No, and I love that. And when
that's awesome. Thanks.
That's my fiance, by the way. We just got engaged a couple days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Maybe that's why she's drinking. Just kidding.
Hey, look, I've told her. I've told her
to start with the digs.
I was like, do you realize what you just said yes to? Like
you're into it now.
with me till we die. Like you, I thought I was crazy. Maybe you're the one that's a little crazy.
Maybe not use the till we die part because that could come a lot earlier for you if she's good.
True, very true. But Math Pig, I saw that. I would love to, if Neil's down, I would love to come down with Neil or whatever. We can make that happen. But
yeah, let's do it. Let's invade Math Pig's channel. Let's take that shit over. The floating potato guy.
Well, it's the takeover.
Yes.
But where was it? So with your channel, the thing that stuck out to me when Nathaniel, digitally through Twitter, introduced the two of us, and I got on there. The one thing that, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but the one thing that stuck out to me first and foremost was as soon as I started scrolling through, and I actually think I was with Tia, my fiance, when I went through your page the first time, and I was like, holy shit, I love this dude. Like his main focus is on the deconversion, and it's not talked about enough. Like,
nope.
People don't realize how, and you get to talk to these people all the time, right? So you have a good understanding, listening to all these stories, and then you having your own story. The problem is that, Neil, most people don't see that part of it. They don't see the ugly part of it. They don't see the painful part of it. There's a lot of people that,
those are the lucky ones, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Because there's other ones, because I'm going to ask you about a couple here, and then we're going to bring producer Steve on, because he wants to chat, and I want him to jump in and chat with us as well. But there's a couple of that I want to bring up, and you kind of tell me, how you felt going through that interview with them, from your perspective now in retrospect, because there's a few that have really stuck out to me, and going through your content, me too. and I'm sure, the first one, and people are going to say, well, that's the most obvious one. But just like you said about this gentleman, when I started my deconversion process, there are two hands that I want to shake before I get buried in the atheist community. That's Matt Dohoney.
Yeah.
And Seth Andrews.
Yeah.
Those two men, and unless I get to meet them, will never know how they impacted my life as a man and as a human and as an individual. They'll never know it. And I'm not, I don't say that to blow smoke or anything like that, but I was in such a limbo at that stage and trying to figure everything out, that they literally kind of held my hand digitally through YouTube and all that, digitally held my hand
virtually.
Yeah. So I'll always be grateful for their influence, and what they do and what they say. So listening to it, and I even made a comment on your interview with Seth that I didn't even understand how many similarities that him and I had in our upbringing and all that until I heard your episode. And here I've been listening to this guy for 2 or 3 years now. and I didn't even know the length of it until I heard your episode. So talking to Seth, now in retrospect, what are your, just his story, not just him as a man, but his story. What are maybe one or two things that really stick out to you about Seth and his process and deconverting and who he is today as far as a voice for our community?
I think one of the things that I kind of, when I found out about Seth, that he used to be a radio DJ for a Christian radio station. And a lot of my friends where I live here work in the radio industry or music industry in general. A lot of them are radio personalities, some of them have left their stations and started their own shows like podcasts and stuff. But I think it stood out because he would get on the radio and he'd be, oh, Jesus this and Jesus that, and listen to this great song written by so-and-so who's praising our Lord and blah, blah, blah. And he'd go on and on about stuff like that. And to be that excited about what you believe, to go from that extreme, and of course the process that he went through, as you probably know from watching, to being almost the opposite in extremity. I've always find, especially because I think he probably would have considered himself to be somewhat fundamentalist, of Bible believing, not full on evangelical, but somewhat fundamentalist. He believed in what the Bible said. And to go from that to just like, fuck that, it's bullshit. It's pretty amazing. And especially when you're in a field where you get to be a personality that talks about the Lord and Savior all the time through the radio waves. I think, and to be able to pull yourself out of that, especially with more of those kinds of people constantly around you, I think that's his hill to climb. I think may have been a little steeper or harder. Maybe not so much to like Matt Dillahunty, who, by the way, will be coming on my show as well at some point. He promised me a long time ago. It's just a matter of getting the timing done.
Between you, both of you, you guys are busy men. So,
not so much now because everyone's kind of stuck at home. Well, now they're starting to open things up a little bit, which is good and bad, right? I mean, because I get it. People are going crazy at home, but it's nice to get out. At least I know the pub that I often go to right down the street here, they're only allowing, I think, 25 people in at a time, and it's a big enough area where they can have people spread out. So, and all the waiters and stuff are wearing masks, so they're doing their best and walking around with the spray, wiping everything down. So they're doing their best to still maintain that stuff. But anyway, with Seth, I think his profession and doing what he did to go from that being that much of a believer and all those people over there that are just as adamant about it as he was at the time, to clear his mind enough to come out of it from being in that sort of position is pretty fucking amazing to me.
Yeah, I agree, and like I said, I hope there's a day where I would just like to tell him thank you. Like him and Matt both. I don't need to ask a ton of questions, and I don't need to them to even remember who I am. I just want to say thank you because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for their content, their material.
Right. Same with me, man.
Yep. So hopefully that day comes. Because I'm the one. I try to say almost, every episode we have at some point where my grandma always said, there's no such thing as too much gratitude. There's no such thing,
That's right.
And for people like that have an influence in my life, I'm never going to not show gratitude. If I have that, if I have that opportunity. So my last one, and after this one, I want producer Steve to jump on once I ask this one. The other one, this one I've actually watched 3 times, Neil.
Okay.
I went back and watched it 3 times. Now, I can never say her name correctly, but I have watched it 3 times. But V from the ACA.
Villa Bianca.
Yeah, that one. I can never say it right. So it should just be V for me, even if I meet her in real life, it's just V. I don't know.
V. She goes by they, them.
Okay. That one really hits me because of the kind of the abuse and the neglect that she talks about, whether it's psychological or emotional or whatever, because that's what I experienced.
I was fighting tears when she talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember with all the quarantine stuff, some of the restaurants have started opening up their drive-throughs again. Some of the other ones had started opening up their drive-throughs and things like that. And T and I had went through Chick-fil-A, and we're sitting in the parking lot eating our salads, to get away, give us a 5-minute break from the kids, because you get quarantined with
sure.
20,000 kids. You just want a break,
The kids are little rat.
And I remember sitting there listening, and I was like, babe, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy right now. Because it's when you hear somebody else talk about things similar to what you've been through and where they're at, and then to see her and what she's doing, it just encourages you, and it pushes you, and it makes you work harder, and it makes you want to make a difference, just like they're making a difference, and she's one that I didn't know that, and again, until I listened to your episode. I had no idea, and I listened to her every weekend. when life's normal, and then they're
sure,
all on there.
Sure.
But that, like, she now has a special place in my heart, and I've never even met her,
right?
Because of that experience, and I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for Neil's podcast. I would have never known that.
Wow.
So again,
glad I'm useful.
That absolutely, and that's why I say, when I love it, like, I'm not saying it because we're on a YouTube channel together. I'm saying it because I actually went through it.
Wait, this is on YouTube?
and not just to promote, because that's, of course we have to do that, but like, there are people that make impacts in each of our lives, and that's another one. So again, I'll ask you the same questions with Seth. Now, in hindsight, in retrospect, what did you take away from that conversation with V? Maybe what did you learn, or what were the things that stuck out to you?
I think with V, because you've seen it 3 times, so the kind of the hardship that she kind of went through on her way out of the belief, and kind of it disturbed some of the relationships that she had with family members and friends. And I think anytime I hear something like that, where people change who they are a little bit belief wise, that it could have that much of a negative impact on their day-to-day family and friends, I think it that kind of shit really bothers me. So the fact that she was able to get through that and still be amazing, because V literally is one of my favorite people out there in the community. We communicate with each other a lot, like off Twitter, whatever, in messages, stuff like that. And not so much these days, because she's been quite busy, or they've been quite busy, pardon me. I think that's, for me, that was the hardest thing to talk about with her, is just the downs that come with it. But I mean, V's obviously quite thrilled that she's no longer in that sort of belief pattern, but there are losses. And they explain that on the show. There are many losses that you have to deal with, and I think that's the hardest thing to deal with, is the losses. And I think they've come through it on top, though. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. And after that, watching that 3 times, like I said, a special place in my heart, and nothing but respect, and to see the impact. The difference that's being made is fucking fantastic, right? It's awesome. So
yeah, they've done really, really well, and they're great on the show.
Yep.
With Talk Heathen, with Eric and stuff like that.
Yep.
And yeah, Eric and I converse a lot. Eric and I are actually have become quite good friends.
Okay. Yep. And just a little. No, I'm not even going to mention.
That's another good one, by the way. I don't know if you've seen my interview with Eric.
I did. No, that was another great one. And
heartbreaking.
Yeah. And his well, I'll get to this once Steve's done, so that way we can get producer Steve on here. But producer Steve, if we can pop him in here, or Murder Shed Steve, we'll get him in here. But
there he is in all his glory.
But Neil, obviously, in our pre-show, you got to meet Steve, and vice versa. But Steve, what kind of questions do you have for Neil?
Well, I suppose right off the bat, you mentioned your kind of Wiccan Norris stage. I suppose.
Well, practicing Wicca, I was dating a girl that was a full-on fledged in a coven and everything, so I kind of got into it that way.
Sure.
Sex magic is awesome, by the way.
You know what? I succumbed to a sleep spell that was on a couch once. I couldn't get up.
Weird.
I know, right?
No, it's not that you couldn't. You're like, this couch is comfortable. I don't want to.
It was super comfortable. So I kind of subscribe to some spiritual beliefs as well, and had a few experiences within that, which I can't I can't explain, but things were asserted to me at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've known
we can probably explain them now.
Well, brain states or things like that, right?
Bingo.
But
Neuroscience has come a long way.
Absolutely. I was kind of curious if you had any experiences or any kind of weird things within that maybe kept you in, or were you just kind of trading one thing for another?
You're right when the whole trading one thing for another, one ridiculous belief for something else. I think there was one. I think that I had this one experience. I lived in a house that was allegedly haunted. And I remember experiences happening that I would chalk up to it being haunted. Apparently, it was a stopover house for the railway workers that would come through the city. And apparently there allegedly, I still don't know to this day if any of it's true, but there were 5 murders in the house.
Ugh.
And there were angry spirits. And I remember one day, and the land that I learned this after the fact. The land that it's sitting on shifted a lot because of sewage issues around it. So it had made the land soft, so the house would shift a lot. I didn't know that at the time, but the cupboard door in the kitchen opened up and a couple of plates fell out. And I thought, holy shit, we're fucking haunted. The ghosts are angry. And one time at 4:00 in the morning, and it's weird because this house that was supposedly haunted, all the weird shit happened there. Doors would close in front of you, but that, of course, was again the house moving, and boom, a door would shut. And the TV came on in the middle of the night one time, and I was convinced at that point that the place was haunted. It just popped on. Turns out there was a short in the wiring, but it popped on and forced the TV on for whatever the fuck. It's one of them old fucking wooden console piece of crap TVs.
Oh, back when TVs were a piece of furniture, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You had to polish with fucking that orange shit or whatever they used.
Oh, it's good. We just need to restain the TV. No big deal.
Yeah. But in the same house, in the attic, I was sitting there reading comics one day. I think I do remember exactly. It was the first issue of the Wolverine 4-part series. And I'm reading that, and the dog, my roommate's dog, Matches, was laying beside me. And all of a sudden I heard Matches growling. And I'm like, what's going on? And I look up in the corner, and there's this weird light in the corner. And of course, I'm already convinced the ghosts are real.
Of course.
So I'm like, oh my goodness, go. But it moves, and it goes out. And I go, oh, look, it went down the stairs. And then I heard the cats at the bottom of the stairs hissing and getting all pissed off. It turns out there was a mouse. I didn't know that till later. But I thought that this spook had gone down there and freaked the cats out. So I'm running down the stairs trying to chase this thing. I couldn't find it anywhere, obviously. And I realized the next night, I'm sitting up there and we're smoking a couple of dubs with a buddy of mine. And then all of a sudden I see that same light. And I go, wait a second. And I look out the window and there's people turning on the road and it's flashing across the ceiling. So I figured it out at that point, that's what that was. But yeah, there were weird things that happened. But now knowing the details of where that what that place was about, not the murders, but that it sat on bizarre land and was shifting constantly. It explains a lot of the stuff, right? So
it's funny how a little bit of investigation can kind of bring us to something a little bit more rational or believable, right?
Yeah.
No, and you were talking about doing the EVPs and all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating how the brain. I mean, our brains are designed to create
your patterns, see patterns. Yeah.
Yes, and to hear language within the whistling wind or something like that, right?
The white noise.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that say?
I used to
don't go in the cabin.
And I interpreted that as stay out.
Yeah.
So, hey, I wanted to kind of mention this too, because you were talking about I don't really have a whole lot of questions. That was kind of my main one. But you were talking about Alice in Chains, right?
Mm-hmm, yes.
What's your favorite Alice in Chains song?
My favorite Alice in Chains song?
I'll just start it off. Mine has got to be Nutshell.
Nutshell is a great tune. A great tune. I love a lot of their acoustic stuff. Like when they first released Sap, I was like, oh, wow, I fucking love this because Brother and my mind just went blank. Got Me Wrong. I think Got Me Wrong is one of my favorite all-time songs. But Man in the Box, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Wood, the tribute to Andrew Wood. I think is probably my favorite. Wood. Rooster's great, but it's so. But I think the one that I know, but the one song I identified with the most is Rain When I Die. I think it's gonna rain when I die. You know that one?
You know what?
That was terrible, but
did it rain when he died?
Well,
because we could say that maybe he was.
That's a good.
That might have been a prophecy. We might have evidence of a.
I think living in the Pacific Northwest, the chances are good.
Fair enough. Yeah, not a hard prophecy to fulfill.
It's a rainforest, not the jungle type, but it is still a rainforest. So yeah, the chances are good that it was probably raining when Lane Staley died.
Yeah, pretty well. At least somewhere, right? It almost would have to be.
I was at the Pearl Jam concert where they had Pearl Jam, Neil Young, the Mirror Ball stuff, and all that. And I'm chatting with the lady beside me, and she's got her son there, and I'm like, oh, you guys are from Seattle? She goes, yeah. I think she dated Lane Staley's father, according to her. But she was able to talk about. She said, "Oh yeah, Lane went through all these drug addiction issues, and his dad tried to get him help all the time, and she was there. She even helped fund some of his rehabilitation stuff." So I have no real reason to doubt what she's saying, especially when she gets into the rehabilitation stuff, because I used to read all about that so I've been working in the record industry back then. So right. So, and I read all kinds of shit about these guys in the local rags and stuff like that. So
I suppose I have one more kind of serious question. I'm not sure if you get into any debates or anything like that, but what kind of apologetics do you run into, and what are your thoughts on apologetics in general? Because I definitely have a thought, but I'm kind of curious how you address that typically.
Apologetics are shit, in my opinion. You can try and logic this and thought process this and God exists and blah blah. Fuck off. Okay, I don't care. Any arguments you want to bring up, they're unconvincing to me.
I'm kind of in the same boat where I feel like if God was real and God breathed the word,
we'd know.
Why the fuck do we need anybody to apologize for it?
Right? What does an omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient being need with us fucking lowly humans to put his words on paper? He could snap his fingers like Thanos with a fucking infinity gauntlet and go, boom, here's everything you need to know right there. Doesn't matter where you live on the planet, you'll be able to read it. There you go. He's fucking omnipotent. He should be able to do that, and that should have been the first fucking thing he did. And he should have realized that plants aren't going to grow unless there's a sun. So Genesis sucks.
You should have figured that one out.
Photosynthesis, right? You can't have plants before you put a fucking star there, idiot stick.
Well, and at least we have video evidence that Thanos can snap his fingers and stuff can get done, right? So that's a little bit more.
Call that video, sure. I just watched that game. That was so good. Both of them. I
had a comment, or I had a comment about the golden rule that I kind of wanted to interject selfishly, I suppose. But I kind of have my own take on that golden rule as well, and it's more treat others the way they want to be treated.
Well, that's mine is all about the harm.
Exactly.
Being a humanist, right?
Exactly.
It's all about harm. So if you can do whatever the hell you want, as long as you're not harming anyone, and that includes yourself. At least try to do minimal damage to yourself. You may have to, from time to time, do a little self-sacrifice to make someone else's life better, but that's okay. I was willing to do that myself. I have a friend here. He's a police officer, and he's diabetic, a severe diabetic. Neither of his kidneys work. He's been on a machine for years and years and years. And I went into his room and saw the boxes of the fluid that he has stacked in his bedroom. Every night he has to go on. He called me one day and said, hey, listen, you think you got quite a social media presence. Do you think you might be able to find someone to donate? And I said, I'll tell you what, man, I'll try. He's like, what? Really? I'm like, dude, you're my friend. You've got 4 kids, a wife, and a mom that lives at home with you. You're a cop. You probably put your life on the line for countless people already.
Right.
What kind of an ass would I be if I didn't at least try to step up and do something to help save your life? And I went through all the tests and everything was grand up until they finally went in there. You know, they go through your dick, guys. All right. They go right in there. They knock me out and they will go in there. I thank you for knocking me out because I don't think I would have been able to put up with that shit. But they go in there and they found a tiny, tiny stone in one. And on the right side, it was draining slow on the top.
Mm.
So they said, we can't use you. And I had tried to appeal that. And the surgeon's board was like, you realize you can die. I'm like, I get it. I trust medical science, and I think you guys would be able to do this. I'm willing to put my life on the line to save the life of somebody like my friend here, because I have no kids. No one will. I mean, my mom will probably miss me clearly, but if I disappeared, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But he's a cop. He's got 4 kids, a wife, and a mom that lives at home. Kind of puts him a little notch up his importance level, I guess. Not that, guys, don't take into the fact that I think badly of myself. I don't. I think I'm a pretty decent person.
No, I get exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So I was willing to risk my own life to save somebody else. And I'm in the business of saving lives. That's why I'm a blood donor. Right. So a committed blood donor too. And there's a little bit of a story there too. I don't know if you guys have the time for that one, but.
Yep. Well, this is what we'll do, Neil. I want to make sure that I plug for you one more time. And I'm actually going to bring Pasta Mike in, and the 4 of us are just going to chat for the last 10 minutes or so. That way, that way we can all have fun together here and have some more good conversations before we wrap it up. But before Pasta jumps on, for everybody that's listening now, and it's 10:20, are you listening in the future? Our guest tonight, Neil the 604 Atheist, you have to go check out his YouTube page.
You don't have to, but it's recommended.
No, you have to. And if you don't, I'm going to hunt you. No, I'm
kidding. We can always pray to Jesus to hunt you down too.
No, you can try. I'll talk to my cat for you and get the same results.
No, you don't understand. I'm like Liam Neeson on
I will hunt you down. I will find you and I will kill you.
I have a particular set of skills. And I will hunt you. I will find you. And I will make you hit that subscribe button.
Just so you guys know, the black ones with my logo are the deconversion stories, and the Canadian flag one is the after parties.
Yep.
Because Drew McCoy, also known as genetically modified skeptic, goes, you got to up your thumbnail game. I'm like, yeah, it's about as good as it gets with me. Really, for me, it's not about flash. It's about the content. It's about the discussion. He goes, yeah, I get it. So,
yep.
And that fucker beats me at my Mario Kart all the time. Beats it.
Mario Kart. Really quick side point. I don't know if this exists anywhere. I'm sure it does. But there's a family-owned arcade place here in Fort Wayne, and they just bought a bunch of property, like a huge chunk of property behind the arcade, and they're building a real-life Mario Kart.
Yes. Let me know when that happens. I'm flying my ass down there, and we're doing some Mario Kart.
Where there's sensors, there's a computer in the Mario Kart where like you can throw a banana, and it's
no way.
And if you hit the banana, you like I saw it's the real thing.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Yep. So I'm gonna try it, and if it actually is functional and real, I'll tell everybody about it.
All right. I've got a very important question regarding that. Can you do battle royale?
Oh yeah, I did the battle. Oh, you mean like when
in real life? One. I'll let you know.
And 64, that one?
Oh no, on 64, of course you can, but I mean on the real live version of it.
Oh,
if you can do battle royale with the balloons, and I'm in.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
I just like balloons. I'm like 5 years old when there's balloons around. I'm like, balloon.
But yeah, it's the Neil, the 604 Atheist. Again, I'm gonna say it. We want to. Anytime we have somebody that's they're creating and they're trying to help and they're doing something as important as I think, for me personally, it impacts me, and maybe I have some personal connection to it. Maybe it makes it lean a little harder to it. But when we have somebody that's creating content that Neil is creating, that is real life changing, we're talking people talking about abuse and manipulation and indoctrination and all that. Like, we need to talk about that. We need to promote that. We need to push that. So if you haven't already and you watch our shit, go watch his shit and subscribe to his shit, because that needs to happen right now. And definitely do that. And even if you're listening in the future, you couldn't catch us live tonight and you're a normal subscriber and viewer on our channel, go support Neil and what he's doing. It's worth your time. It's worth your effort. And you'll be glad. You'll take a bunch away from it. You'll be glad that you did it. So that being said, Pasta Man, the Pasta Mike.
Pasta Mike.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
No, that was fucking awesome.
Hey, Neil, first of all, congratulations, man, for putting up with Austin for that long, man. We do appreciate
putting up with. I was kind of feeling he had to put up with me, so I guess we're kind of even on that scale.
It's a Herculean task. Really.
It was awesome. Austin's great, man. I had a great converson with him.
We were really hoping that Jesus Mike was going to be here, but he sent us this message. Anyway,
no, that's fucking awesome.
That's how Jesus feels about humanity.
I don't blame him.
No, he's currently with his wonderful mom. It's her birthday, so I know Austin mentioned it at the top of the show. His mom is celebrating, so he had to step aside, and we do allow off days only for mothers' birthdays.
Or Mother's Day.
Other than that. But man, what a great show. I was going to ask, one of the questions I was going to ask, because I know you were raised in Canada. I was raised in the United Kingdom, and church and religion is viewed completely different over there where I was raised.
I know.
I live in Atlanta now, so it's kind of like the contrast is completely different.
Your accent's almost gone too.
Oh, it was like 20 years in one place, 20 years in another place. So it's kind of hybridized, if you will. But
yeah,
I'm thinking to myself, did that play an impact on how you view Christianity and the Judeo-Christian religions?
You mean where I live?
Yeah, absolutely. Because for me, like, if I was atheist from the jump, because I wasn't force-fed religion. I didn't have anybody in my group of friendship community giving me any of this stuff that I see here. So when I got to the U.S., this stuff that I see and the verbiage and the way people talk is crazily different.
Yeah, it's different here in Canada too.
That's what I got friends in Canada, and Canada is almost like the American version of the UK, almost in parts, at least.
With kind of a melding of the two, I think. Yeah,
that's how I view it. And now some parts, because Canada's fucking massive.
A little bit Aussie in there too.
Yep, very true. So I was wondering, you're somebody that would be different than some of the atheists that I speak to down in the South. So I would just, I just wonder how that played a role in your growing up.
It's funny you say, like, I don't think religion was ever forced on me. Like, my parents, I mean, if I didn't feel like going to synagogue, they wouldn't, like, they'd go, well, you got to go. And I go, I'm not into it. And they go, all right, whatever, stay home. So it was never forced on me, but they encouraged it because, we want you to learn and have a bar mitzvah, that kind of thing. So I think, but in Judaism, it might be a little different because I consider our family to have been somewhat secular-ish. We ate bacon, which was a big no-no. Like, I remember my buddy's dad always making fun of me, going, "You eating bacon? Oh, Moses is going to be pissed off when you get up to heaven," right? So, that kind of thing. So it was never really forced, but it was just like, I don't even think I would have said, maybe when I was really young, it would have been expected. I didn't really have a choice. They could have wrapped me in a fucking white jacket and thrown me in the car.
Sure.
I didn't, because, I was just a little kid. But in my adult days, once I told them, I said, I don't really care. I'm not going anymore. They went, yeah, whatever. So that it wasn't really forced. It just was the thing to do. It was a community thing. You get together, and I got to hang out with all my Jewish friend kids and make trouble. Oh, we were always getting into trouble. But anyway, I was a horrible kid. But anyway, and that's what it was about, trying to hit on the girls. It didn't always work out. One of them kicked me square in the nuts one time, and I'll remember that day. That's the first time I ever got kicked in the balls.
No, that'll bring you to Christ usually, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're damn right. I was on the ground going, oh, God!
Yep.
I never felt pain like this in my life.
You can see the light sometimes.
Yeah, and she still kind of rubs me about that to this day. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was more about that.
Sure. I had a similar experience, but I got here, when I was like 21. I was born in the United States. Long story, but I was 21 when I got reacquainted with the South, and it just hits you like a brick. The contrast between the countries that really don't force religion on you and don't have, even though a lot of them are still religious. A lot of them still believe in Jesus Christ or
the God of some kind.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of Muslims and Hindus in the UK, and it's just they do their own thing. It's not forced down your throat. Over here, you're literally told wherever you go, God bless you, this and whatnot. It's just a unique experience. Now, not to put any connotation of negativity or positivity on that. Just the fact that it occurs constantly is my point. And I just
think it's just become a figure of speech nowadays for many cases.
Yeah,
like oh, bless her heart, or stuff like that. It's just become a figure of speech, possibly.
Absolutely.
But there are religious people clearly that are going to use that with that connotation. But I think there's a lot of times that it's just a phrase.
Yeah. Case in point would be like my mother. I was raised single parent, but my mother is a Christian. She's a believer in Jesus Christ, and she never once told me to go to church. She never once told me what to think. She never once told me to be a Christian. She let me think, skeptically, and told me to.
It's rare.
Well, I kind of liken that to most of my friends. Most of the friends, I was born late 70s, early 80s, right? So, the group of friends that I'm, graduating high school with, we're all kind of secular-minded, skeptic. There's one or two that are religious, I guess, but most of us are similar mindset, and our parents would all be religious. Mm-hmm. We were raised all the same way. Maybe it's that part of the UK. I don't know.
Yeah, I was raised to be skeptical as well. Just straight up, no religion, nothing.
I can't say the same.
Well, I guess the thing that was cool about it wasn't like look to disprove religion or go out there and go out of your way to not be religious. It was trying to avoid the dogma and use logic and reason. Therefore, you come to a fair conclusion. And for me and most other people, the fair conclusion is not talking snakes and not donkeys that are a little bit chatty. You know what I'm saying?
A little bit chatty. Or in the case of Islam, flying horses and cutting the moon in half with a sword.
Yeah, because if you're not like indoctrinated into that stuff, and you're like, hey, go and learn for yourself. Go and watch this television show instead of reading the Bible and being told it's true at 5. Go and look at David Attenborough and look at this stuff. You then, when you're old enough and you've got a little bit of sense behind you and you read that stuff, you're immediately like, what in the world is this? Is it a parable? You're kind of gray in this area.
Sure. Yeah.
Like some of you are saying it's parable. Some of you are saying, no, it's word for word, 100% true. So I'm lost. And then there's like a billion denominations. So I'm kind of lost on which path to go down. And, so that would be my point to this whole thing.
Oh, but Pasta, that burning bush, he's just a little chatty Cathy.
He was a little bit chatty. But, at the end of the day, if it was Adam and Steve, Steve wouldn't have been dumb enough to talk about snakes. You know what I'm talking about?
He'd have been like, wait a minute.
I think Steve would have been talking to another snake anyway.
He would have said, get out of here, snake.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Steve would have said, Come to the murder shed, bitch.
He would have chopped this goddamn head off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's face it, you guys. You got some fucking all powerful being telling somebody like Abraham to kill his fucking son.
Oh,
was it
Austin
Abraham?
loves that story. That's
All
Austin's
right.
favorite story.
Oh, yeah.
It's like what? And then right before he's about to, he goes, I'm just kidding. You're a dick.
Yep.
Dude, you're a fucking dick.
Absolutely.
Neil, I knew I loved you.
Hey, big shout out to Irish Swede. I just tried to find. I went over to your channel, Neil, to try and find that clip of him showing a scar, but it's such a long episode. I couldn't pinpoint the part. So if Irish Swede wants to drop the actual minute on the video, I can pull it up, but I couldn't find it.
Well, and real quick to Grumpy, and shout out, we do this, and we should do this, but Grumpy is on every episode. Grumpy and Tia are on every fucking episode. But he said, I'm so sick of apologetic arguments. It all seems to be word salad. And again,
pretty much.
And anybody that knows
kind of salad dressing do you want with that word salad?
Yeah,
Whatever comes out of mental masturbation.
it's bullshit.
Yeah. Kind of don't want salad now.
But
Absolutely.
But here's the thing, and this is what I've said, and even Urias and I, not on the episode, but we were talking privately on a Discord one night. Here's where I'm at with apologetics. If your God is truly, like, emphatically all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving, he's everywhere at once, he sees everything at once, he knows everything at once, why have we had thousands and thousands and thousands of years for him to demonstrate himself and show himself, but yet we still have to have our little finite brains in Discord chat rooms discussing the reality of a fucking God? Like what?
That
like
clearly isn't.
like that meme. And I wish I had. I'm not going to search my phone right now, but it said, if your God was actually real, you wouldn't have to argue it.
That's right.
You wouldn't have to argue for it. Just like I don't have to argue, and I love it when Matt does this, Matt Dohoney on episode. Yep. This is a pin. I have the pin. I drop the pin drops. I have the pin. I can prove the pin. Guess what you can't do? You can't say, this is God. I dropped God. There's God.
Yeah, well, because off the old, then how do you know gravity's real? We know gravity's real, bitch.
Yeah.
Okay? That's gravity.
Boom. Well, here's my favorite. Well, wind, you can't see wind.
No, we can see the effects of wind.
No, but we have things that actually measure
it. Yeah.
Yep.
Wind. Like
Hold on, guys. This just in. They just invented a God mill.
Really? Like a pepper mill, we can crush his fucking ass up.
No. They can take away the windmill, and they're
what's it called?
God mill. Yeah.
And it turns out the Greeks were right.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
We're going to use God's power to generate. They're just going to get rid of the windmill.
I still love Matt Dillahunty saying, "Why is the Damascus Road experience good enough for Saul, but not for me?"
Exactly.
Yep.
Because he was hallucinating.
Hey, who's
all those mushrooms?
Who's this troll, Austin? That's
good drugs, man. Good drugs.
Who's this troll?
Hey, that troll! I'm taking to Jamaica in the morning.
Ooh,
I think she should use a real name. What's her real name?
Her real name is Mrs. fucking Mills.
Miss Mills with it. Miss Mills. It's got a southern element to it, don't it? Miss Mills. Hey, Miss Mills, what you doing?
Oh, bless you.
Miss Mills. I was speeding. Yeah, let me open up that shirt a little bit for me, Miss Mills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I ain't gonna write you a ticket today, Miss Mills. I promise.
Oh man, you were talking about when you met or you want to meet some of your favorite atheists like Seth Anders and Matt Dillahunty. When I met Matt for the first time at the Faithless Forum last year, and I went up and shook his hand and said, "Dude, I appreciate what you do. You've inspired me to start what I do, that kind of thing." Because there are multiple have inspired me. And then I went on Twitter right away. I went, "Life goal achieved." Shook Matt Dillahunty's hand. And he posts right away. He goes, "Aim higher."
Aim higher. Yeah. I saw that. I love that.
That was fucking brilliant.
He's a cool dude, man.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. He really is. He's such a gracious host. I was at his house like fucking for 6 days in a row. We were over there just shooting the shit. He's got a hot tub out back, drinking and having fun and playing video games. And him and I are talking about trading card games because I play Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to play Magic, and he's going on with this new game. Yeah, right. Dude, I had like 5 or 6 copies of Black Lotus.
Oh God!
Sold them all. I think that's about $4,500, $5,000 I got for them.
Oh, yeah.
This is back in about '97.
Okay. Yep.
And knowing now that each of them are worth about $30,000 each if they're in mint condition, and mine were in mint condition.
Damn.
I'm like,
Neil,
I'm going to go outside and beat. I have to go outside and punch myself in the balls every time I tell that story.
Hey Neil, how do you rate some of these giants right here, bro?
Wow. I like all of them. Penn
Yep.
Jillette, I fucking love Penn. He's too funny. Bill Maher's a little bit of a nut bar, so you know.
I hear you.
Sam Harris, he's pretty good. Christopher Hitchens, what's not to love about Hitchens?
Sure.
Dawkins kind of losing his mind these days, but I still enjoy his work. I have 3 or 4 of his books.
He's up there.
Ricky Gervais is amazing.
Yeah, my favorite is Ricky now, but what's his name? Dawkins got to be up there, close to 80 now, surely.
Right. So he's starting to lose his marbles a bit, and you can see that from time to time. Dennett is amazing.
Sure.
The way he thinks about psychology and stuff like that is just unbelievable. And Krauss, well, you know, I very much like his work, what he does, but, you know, there are the allegations against him.
That's true.
That are not cool.
That's very true. You got to be mindful of that when you factor in that sort of thing.
Christina Rad, who's another YouTuber who talks about atheism and stuff like that, she met him and he made unwanted, inappropriate advances on her, like his hand on her leg starting to go up her skirt. So,
sure, that's kind of like the whole thing with these excellent music artists and things who you can't discredit their body of work, but the fact that they're creeps, you just got to call it out for what it is, you know.
Yeah, creeps can be talented too, people.
Sure,
or
Keep
can
that
be
in
right.
mind.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a creep. I'm just kidding. I'm not talented, so of course that wouldn't have went anywhere.
I suppose Darwin is a good example of that as well. You know,
Darwin.
yeah,
Yeah.
he
all
had
of his racial manifestos and all that kind of stuff. But you know, his research was still sound.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For the
Absolutely.
most part.
Well, Neil, I know you mentioned earlier you have some ribs. Now you better eat them before they start to formulate into a human.
So, you mean a new Eve?
Yeah, you never know. So you gotta get the suckers in.
Nathaniel. Hey, Nathaniel.
Adam's clone.
It's factual. It's written right there in the Bible, so it is fact. If you don't eat them quick enough,
Oh yeah, if it's in the Bible, it's true.
They'll grow up into gullible female that eat some apples.
There's definitely a firmament over top of us with water on the other side. I mean, we know this, right? We had to go through all that to get to the moon, didn't we?
Sure.
Of course.
Oh wait, no, the moon landing never happened, right? I forgot it was in the studio. People are fucking morons, and I think half of them just like to stir the shit pot. But remember, people, when you stir the shit pot, you often have to lick the spoon. So
Ooh.
That's disgusting.
Neil, I hope you don't mind my stealing that because
I'm gonna knock yourself out. I stole it.
Perfect.
All right, so
I'm a
gentlemen,
quote thief.
So, gentlemen, if I can, I want to wrap this up real quick, and then we'll head into the after party and give Neil some time to eat his. Are your ribs there yet, Neil?
No. They're. It's down at my buddy Mikey's place every Sunday.
Okay.
He likes to do a barbecue feast. So I told him I was doing this, and that I'd probably show up later just to save me some. So
Okay. All right.
I'm pretty much good for you guys. I've had a little potato naan here, anyway, some Indian food. So
Yeah, gotta love the naan, man. I like.
Oh baby, just
Now this is reminiscent of a recent guest that we've had.
Yeah, we have guests sometimes that make videos where they're trying to argue, structure an argument with like food in their mouths. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, not on a casual chat like this. They'll be like serious. They'll be like, hey, so what's your evidence for God?
Have you tried this? It's amazing. It's divine.
Your food looks much better than I think they were just eting hot dogs.
I'm convinced.
Vishnu is real.
So Steve, you win the award of Joke of the Night. That was great. That was fantastic. But let's wrap up this and then move into the after party. But before we do, Steve, you want to make sure we're ready for the outro and all that. Divine Disbelief just jumped in a second ago. So Nathaniel and Susan. Yep, and Susan, we first of all, and
Skeptics. I gave her that name, by the way.
I know. I can speak for Neil and myself and say we appreciate you guys and we're grateful for you guys and the friendship we have with you guys. And I can say for myself, Nathaniel, thank you for introducing myself and the round table to Neil and starting this relationship. It's awesome. We definitely appreciate it. And just like we do anytime that there's somebody that we support and we love and we appreciate, Divine Disbelief, go look their channel up. They're always pushing out great shit. I was listening I was listening to some stuff today while I was getting cleaned up and getting ready for the show tonight, and I was listening to it. And I even took some things from, I got to listen to about a half hour of it, 40 minutes of it. There's some things that I'll use in some of our episodes, and go check them out. They're good people. They have a great content, great channel. Eating. And Neil is about to eat his fingers, so we're going to we're going to sign off. But we tonight, like I said, Mike and Jeff had family commitments and things going on. But Steve, Pasta, thank you guys so much for your help tonight and making this a great presentation, making Neil look good, making me look good, and we had a blast. And thank you guys for jumping on at the end and have a great conversation. This is what it's all about. This is why this is the round table. We just love to talk and discuss people's
As soon as the borders are open, I'm going to be going down to hang out with Susan and Nathaniel down in Portland. Awesome. They're like 5 hours away from me. It's easy peasy.
Oh, awesome.
That's great. Awesome.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, great show, guys. And for those that are tuning in, we appreciate it. Those that tune in the future, hit us up if you want to be a part of the show. Email me, austin@tart.live. And then from there, you know what it is. Peace out.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Tart Show tonight. Don't forget, Austin will be a special guest at the Neil 604 Atheist Show on June the 8th, and that's 4 p.m. Pacific time. Don't forget to tune in for that show. Austin's probably going to ramble on a little bit, but hey, Neil will swing it back around. We love these guys. Atheist community, we're going to cross-pollinate, and producer Steve does not murder people in his shed. You guys have a great evening. Take care.